So, as always, with a like this, remember to have some water next to you. It's a good idea, really, to take a few sips every now and then. And if you don't actually feel thirsty, and you know, to be fair, we're not doing massive aerobic stuff or anything like that, of course. So that's I think that should do. Okay, right. So just rubbing your hands together. Tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder. Your arms. Side. Onto your chest. Your belly. Your legs. Good. And your feet. So whether it's hot or cold, a common response to sort of weather is to stiffen up. But remember that, you know, with Tai Chi, the thing we're trying to do is to just open up the body, create a bit of space, and that space will allow the heat to dissipate. If you just focus your attention on your breathing for a few moments, you'll feel that the in-breath has that sharper, fresher feel. And as you settle back, let your weight drop back, begin to release some of the tightness and stiffness in the body. Very common thing to feel is that your fingertips tingle a little bit, and that's the as you soften and as you relax, that's the capillaries right in the tips of the fingers and underneath the skin beginning to get more blooded, and of course that's a way of losing heat. So when what we call the peripheral circulation starts to work for us in Tai Chi, and sometimes we will get that tingling or a pulsing feeling, not always. But when it starts to work, regardless of whether we get the sensation or not, then the body's just performing its natural heat releasing functions. One of the reasons our fingers go white when it's very cold, because the body shuts down that peripheral circulation to preserve heat. So in various ways, we are just sort of like countering the effect of this kind of extreme heat that we're all feeling at the moment. So then into the upright position. Weight slightly forwards. Same thing, just letting yourself drop down. Another thing to be aware of in these sort of conditions is that joints can swell very easily, the knees, hips, fingers, and that kind of thing. And even if you haven't not normally experienced joint pain, they may be a bit stiff because of that swelling. But once again, a little bit of movement helps to sort of like reduce the swelling a little bit, acts as a sort of coolant. Now turning your head gently. And then your shoulders, paying attention to the movements in your chest and your upper back. So there's less actual effort needed directly in the shoulders. So again, this sort of releasing quality becomes dominant. And that movement in your back and spine, going forwards. Arms to your sides. And winding, circling, rotating the arms. Imagine the round pillar either side of you. And then raising your hands so you're winding up cotton or silk thread. Change direction. And rest. Rocking forwards and using your legs to push back. Just giving time for the muscles to sort of soften up and release some of that stagnant heat. So always very carefully, but take account for the conditions around you always when you do these movements. We're not immune from the climate, we're not immune from our environments, and we shouldn't be trying to be, really. Remember, as though you're moving through water. This time turning a little, going forward one knee. And then go in the other direction. And around. Just a faint suggestion of a curve through the spine, through the middle of the body. And back the other way. This one can give you just a gentle sensation of being massaged in the lower part of your spine, the lower back. And back the other way. Okay. Just step in. The other foot. Remember, the leg is pushed out from your hip and drawn back in. Try not to rock to and fro. There'll be a little bit of movement there, but mostly around this area, down to your toes that you're working. And then alternating. The other thing to do is to gently push the planted foot down to help with the step. Okay. Coming back to the seated position. Give yourself a moment to sort out your posture. Then your hands to your sides. Rotate them so the palms are facing forwards and tilting forwards and back. Nice to feel that opening in the chest as we sit back and rotate the arms. And of course, you know, the chest and lungs can get very congested in weather like this. You know, people have respiratory problems of some kind or another. It can be really amplified. And this gentle movement, now again, a kind of massaging quality to the movement. I'm going to change this time though to fisherman castanet. See if you can just feel that movement still in your chest and your upper back. So here's the arm swing back, we feel the expansion. Try taking a breath in there, see how it feels. And you breathe out as you go forward. That's comfortable. And then rolling over the ball. I want to try and just very gently let go of that sort of slightly muggy feeling in our minds. We do that just by consistently returning our attention to the movement that we're doing, our posture, whatever sort of elements of those suit you to focus your attention on. So that spacious feeling, the more focused feeling, very much something that is cultivated during these practices. One more time. And pigeon spreads its wings. Again, as you sit back, see how it feels to take one of those sort of cooler in breaths. Don't forget to breathe out. And then dropping your hands down, pushing away. Once more. Punch with both fists. So again, don't be surprised if your movement's a little bit restricted. And remember, what we don't do is strain against that. Develop this instinct, this intuitive awareness of how far we can move without straining, without constricting that space. And remember, that space will be, allowing the blood to flow, take away some of the kind of heat that builds up, causes muscles and joints to swell a little bit, and you will get more movement from that. Now going back to pigeon spreads its wings, little sequence of 3, focusing on the sort of flowing movement from one to another. You reach a point from as far forwards as you can comfortably. You automatically start to come back, and that begins the next movement. Same thing here. You reach that final point, and then that's the signal for the change. Remember, something like pigeon spreads its wings, maybe a good moment to re-establish the link between your breath and your movement. Breathing in as you go back. Maybe not every time, but every now and then. One more round of this. And change. Now bringing your hands around and push up. Bring your back lengthening and then contracting. Keeping a nice steady pulsing movement. Now the wild goose. And part in the clouds. And then dragon plucks the stars from the sky. Let's do one more of these. And then changing two hands, two directions. Just add in the turn. So we've now got 4 directions. First one is up, no turning. Middle 2, hands pushing out to the sides, but with this little bit of a turn in your hips. Final one is the sideways push without any turn. So the last 3 movements of this, the arm movements, do exactly the same thing. They push out gently in a straight line from your shoulders. Try not to sort of give in to the temptation to somehow sort of like pull your arms around, do something different with them. Extend one foot. Scoop in the sea and look in the sky. After this one, when your hands come down, you fist them and you change to grasping the tiger's ears and lengthening from the base of your spine, angling forwards, using that movement to draw your arms over. Like with the winding exercise that we did and bird folds its wings, arms rotate a little bit, and what happens is here they come down. Can you see how they're turning forwards? If they're open, you would see the fingers down, but keep the hands fisted. So we go forwards, and then again, there's that contraction in the chest, helping to bring your arms over. Good. Switch sides. And change. One more time. Excellent. Good. Come back with your feet below your knees. Take a few sips of water. Hands on your shoulders and go back to this one. Look, I've taken to do this one standing sometimes, and stay where you are, but let me show you what's happening with this exercise. So you can carry on doing it in the chair, but I've started combining it with this movement. Can you see my hips going back and then sinking? So I'm actually getting quite a lot of help from my legs to move my arms. And in the same way, when we do it in the chair, you can push down just a little bit through your feet and your hips, through the back length, and then you get this sort of wave-like movement coming up through your back. And because we're going to go into bear play, that's a useful sort of sensation to keep. So then we turn. And again, this isn't me sort of stretching the elbow forwards. I'm actually turning the body. Again, if I show you standing, here, you can see how I'm turning. See, it's easier to see these things standing, more subtle, seated, but you'll get, in some ways, you'll get more benefit out of doing them seated. Slight shift of the weight as well. So now, bringing your hands out into bear play. Do one more on each side. And then sit back into the hip on that side. So you can mirror in the left. Turn the hand palm forwards and push over into the opposite foot. Going into hitting the ball in front of the shoulder. More on each side. And then just bring in your right hand across, bring your left hand unders, going into the movement, wave hands like clouds. And to begin with, you do this as though you're holding the ball between your hands. So your hands will stay palm in. You move across slightly and you turn. And when your hands get to a point just above my leg, I turn a little bit further and rotate. Move across and I turn. That brings my hands over my left leg. I turn a little more to my left for the rotation, but only a little more. As you get more familiar with this, you can just allow the hands to spiral a little bit. So we know from other exercises that that engages the chest and so on. And you can see the hands turn slightly palm out, the top much more than the bottom. One more time. And let your hands rest. So once again, just taking a couple of slow, gentle breaths. Feet in line with your knees and your hips, and indeed your shoulders. With that long, stronger feeling going up through the middle of your body. And just feel that you're able to trust that feeling, that stronger feeling within the body, not just in that column, but elsewhere. And allow yourself to settle. Okay, so once again, rubbing your hands together. And tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Onto one shoulder. Your arm. The side. Upper part of the chest. Belly. And your legs. Good. Again, have a couple of sips of water and then stand. So, feet hip width apart. And just rocking your weight forwards and backwards. Hips dropping back a little bit. As though you're in water. So, you know, to go back, you wouldn't sort of do that. You'd have to sort of sink back. And then need to go forwards, are kind of sinking forwards. It's an interesting movement. Hold your hands in front of you as though you're carrying a tray of drinks, and just again just as when I talk about in the chair, letting your shoulders drop, your rib cage drop, and just feeling that stronger feeling, quality, structure, however you regard it, within the body. So in the same way, when we hold our arms like this, don't sort of hold them rigid, because then there's too much movement. Just let the elbow drop. Feel as though the bones are not tight against the muscle, the other way around, really, isn't it? So it's as though the arms are hanging from the ceiling. There's a little loop there. Fingers spread open. And gradually, as you go forwards, just let your arms extend a little bit. Think of that angle there and the elbow getting wider and then contracting. And then going around in the circle around the edge of the foot. Go back in the other direction. Inside. Your arms extending slightly. Good, and then shake it off. So that same sense of sort of carrying something should extend into all the movements that we do, so that the arms are soft and quiet, but not actually not just passive. That they are doing something. And one really good way is always of encouraging the arms to take the appropriate shape, if that makes sense. It's through imagery and in intent, rather than trying too hard with the arms. So now sinking back again, hands in front of you, reaching down, your feet pushing down, your hips being pulled down, but really at the same time they're being pushed up. So imagine a piece of elastic from your hip down to the ground, and as your feet push down, you push up sort of against the resistance of that elastic, but stop before it gets tight. Expanding, contracting. And then change into the wild goose. and parting the clouds. One more time. Good. And shake out. 1 foot forwards. That same gentle push down through the foot, rear view. But then just start to use a different image. There's no one way of describing this process that is accurate 100%. So there's different, we can think of it in different ways. But imagine you've got one of those big blue balls they've got in gyms, that actually what you were doing was just sitting back onto one of those. And what would happen is it would be compressed and then it would expand and it would push down and up at the same time. So again, you could imagine that being in the center, being your center. So we can either think that the leg pushes the center forwards, or that in moving the center drops into and compresses the leg, causing it to just naturally expand. The latter way is probably a little bit more advanced in a way, but it's still worthwhile using both ideas. In the end, we want to be able to do these movements as just as they come, without having to consciously think about them or to apply a particular image. So the different images, the different ways of looking at them, all add something to the whole picture, but none of them are the whole picture. So raising your toes and your heel. And then stepping in. So through this process of working with the movement in different ways, we get that sense of the effort being distributed through the body. And it can feel as though sometimes there's no effort being made, and it can look as though there's no effort being made, but that's quite rare. The Chinese term is Wu Wei. Really what we're looking to do is to find a different way of moving that doesn't require the same kind of effort. And then on the other side. So again, losing some of those old habits of movement, or rather not losing them, but rather trying to develop new habits, different ways of moving. And then raising your toes and your heel. and stepping in. And taking a few steps. Change direction. One foot forwards and fisherman casting it. One more time. And then on the other side. Good. And shake out. Right. Find your chair again. Sit in again, trying to feel that sort of distribution of effort. Obviously, you know, hips, buttocks, legs are going to take more of a share of your weight, but even within the legs and so on, the effort is distributed out. Weight a little bit forwards. Again, taking a couple of nice, slow, gentle breaths. And bring your hands around as though you're just holding a ball between them again. Take a breath in and feel how your body just begins to expand. Trying to breathe down into your belly. That expansion just pushing the arms out and then contracting. And remember that quiet feeling in your arms and your hands. And the bellows breathing, so the belly and then the solar plexus and then the chest expands, drawing that fresher feeling of the air into your lungs and into your body. And as you breathe out, just releasing that slightly more stagnant quality. This is the process that I sometimes use the image of spring mist, like you're breathing in a clear spring mist and breathing out the stagnant autumn fog. And as you feel the expansion and contraction working in different parts of your body, feel that those parts too are getting the benefit of that exchange, spring mist to autumn fog. and then embracing tiger, returning to the mountain. One more round. And rest. Brilliant. So, thank you very much, everybody. Hope that was useful. A little bit cooling, perhaps.